Major funding for these broadcasts is made possible by grants from Chase Commercial Term Lending and New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, Perfect Building Maintenance, Capital One Bank, the Wyckoff Group, Greenberg Traurig. Additional funding is provided by grants from AKA Hotels, Corman Communities, Aerial Property Advisors, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Colliers International NYC, CPEX Real Estate Services, Cushman & Wakefield, Customers Bank, DDG, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Fisher Brothers, First Nationwide Title Agency, Flushing Bank, Foley and Lardner, Friedman LLP, Handler Real Estate Organization, HAP Investment Developers, Herrick Feinstein, Investors Bank, James D. Coen Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, James Orphanides, Chairman USRealty.com, John Katsimides, Red Apple Group, Kilroy Architectural Windows, New York's Window Company, Madison Realty Capital, Massey Knuckle Realty Services, Matone Group, Mercantile Commerce Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, New Banks, MHP Real Estate Services, People's United Bank, SJP Properties, Sterling National Bank, Sterling Risk, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, Terra CRG, The Continuum Company, CUNY TV Foundation, the Moynihan Group, Urban American, and These Friends.
Obie Award, Emmy Award, actor, Yiddish theater, comedy, music, everything. I got Fyvush Finkel, who was with me last week, to continue the story. So now Jerome Robbins, we were talking about the auditioning of the innkeeper, which I now learned was not only a person who took care of the inn, he was the tumler.
He's the
Right?
tumler,
The
right.
tumler.
You got it. That was a good expression.
He was the tumler who would
That's
make
right.
the jokes and bring up the people. And
Right
say,
at the wedding, right after the ceremony.
Right. He could have been the Gaba too, okay? The tumler and the
It could have
Gaba.
been, listen,
Okay.
they called it a batchen,
So
B-A-D-C-H-E-N.
So this is 1965, and you get the job. Where is the first place you tour?
Well, the first tour was at San Diego.
And how long in San Diego?
Oh, well, San Diego was only a week. But the main engagement was in Los Angeles at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. And our star that time he was one of the greatest actors I've ever appeared with, Luther Adler.
You're still playing the innkeeper.
That's right.
From the innkeeper, you then get elevated as well.
They elevated, yeah.
You become the butcher.
The
Laser
butcher.
Wolf. Okay, so you become the infamous Laser Wolf. Okay?
Right.
So you're Laser Wolf, the butcher, who Tevye has to tell his wife Zeitel that he cannot marry because of the dream, which we know was
Well, the dream,
the
dream is a fictional thing, that they put together. He put it together to try and influence his wife that it's okay to marry Muttel.
Where'd you travel around the country?
Oh my God, we in most every city had a dinner theater. And I appeared as Tevye in many dinner theaters.
So
I did that show for 12 years, but I did 4 years on the road.
Okay.
And then I did a year on Broadway.
If you had your favorite song from Fiddler on the Roof, which song would it be?
My favorite song?
Your favorite song.
You mean the single song, a single number?
Song that you
would be The
perform.
Rich Man, naturally.
Yeah, why don't we do a couple of lyrics of that song now? You know?
If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy bum. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. If I was a bitty man, I'd a diddle man.
Wonderful.
I build a big. You had me started.
No, I
Okay.
want you. I want to finish it. Finish it a little bit.
Oh, let's leave it alone. At these
well,
prices, I gave you enough.
I realize. Okay, I'll be charged too much. Right now, you had been in the theater. You started in 1930. What happens? You get into the real.
Oh, it became important already. I mean, what I've discovered in the American theater is a different principle, a different type of work than you do in the Yiddish theater. You see, in the American theater, 90% of shows you have to read for them. Yiddish theater, you don't read. They hire you. They know who you are. In other words, if they make you audition in the Yiddish theater, you have to pay an actor a week's wages.
No.
So they never auditioned. They took you as is, I mean, if they knew you. But in the American theater, they're entitled to audition you 3 times, maybe more sometimes. The same thing applies with films. You know, it's a different ball game.
You got into your first film in 1950. Yiddish
Oh,
movie.
yeah, certainly.
What was this movie called? Monticello?
Monticello, Here We Come.
And what was your role in Monticello?
Well, I wrote the sketch there. I was the only new thing in the movie. What happened was the one that produced that movie, he took all specialties from Yiddish stars that he photographed years ago in various films. And then he put it together like a concert. He had an MC, but he needed a little opening, something more of a live. So he sent for me, and I wrote a sketch, and they have it in that movie.
You won an Obie award in
The Obie I got for Cafe Crown. That was, I think, 1987 or 88.
What role did you play in that?
I played the waiter. It was a funny part, the waiter. In other words, the show is based on it was a real restaurant on 12th Street and 2nd Avenue called the Cafe Royal, whereby we all went there. I went there for 30 years. We all went there. That's where deals were made, dates were made, everything in the Cafe Royal. And it came dinner time. I never got what I wanted anyway. Whatever I said I wanted, he says, don't take that, take something else, you know, one of those. And the waiter was the one I imitated in Cafe Crown. He walked like a penguin, you see, and I imitated that walk, and what he used to say, certain things. If he didn't get a big tip, he used to look at it and he says, oh, you came into an inheritance. Things like that. He told things, and they gave me that part. That's what I did. In fact, when I did that thing, I got a call to speak to somebody in California about the Picket Fences, the pilot.
Which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
But Q&A, how'd you get into the movie Q&A?
Q&A, I auditioned.
And what was your role?
The role was the mouthpiece, they called him.
You were the defender for the
I was the lawyer.
For the mob?
I was the lawyer for the mob, yeah. And they dyed my hair black and wore the funny jewelry, you know. He was a real character there, very funny part. And it was only 10 minutes in the film. So when I got the script, I went over to Sidney Lumet. I said, Mr. Lumet, it's only
10 minutes?
10 minutes, he says. You'll see what that 10 minutes will do for you. He says, you better do it. Listen to me and do it. So I did it, and I was not sorry, because in California, when they were going to do the pilot on Picket Fences, every one for that lawyer, Douglas Wambaugh, that the casting people showed David Kelly, he didn't like them. He just didn't feel they were right. Then he invited his friends for dinner in his house, and he rented the movie Q&A. And
by accident?
By accident, yeah. By accident, by coincidence. He sees me on the film. They all started laughing. He said, that's him. That's the one.
So when do you start at Picket Fences? In 1992?
1992.
So
I was 70 years old then.
Hey, you finally...
That was my first big hit.
First hit, okay, 70 years old, 62 years on the stage, it's about time.
That was a miracle.
Okay, so you had that role for how many years?
4 years.
4 years. You won the Emmy.
I won an Emmy the second year.
Right.
Not the first year. I was nominated the first year, but I didn't get it.
During this period of time of 1992, you told me a very interesting story that you had time because some between seasons, and you went back to the Concord.
The Concord was a funny thing there. My son, I have 2 sons, great musicians, Ian and Elliot. Great. But Ian takes care of my calendar, my business. They called him up. And they told him, Passover, they want me there at the Concord Hotel. Mr. Parker is the one that's running it now. And but don't forget, the last time your father appeared at the Concord, we gave him $500.
When you appear in the 70s over there?
Oh, before the 70s. So my son says he got an Emmy. The $500 is not right. Then what would you like to charge for him? He says it's $25,000. They hung up. He hung up on him abruptly.
So what happens next?
Well, he went down back to the Concord, and Parker told me the story. He said, "Did you get me Fyvush?" He said, "No, I couldn't get him." He said, "Why?" He wanted too much money. He said, "So what did he want?" He said, "He wants $25,000. He says, "Give it to him." He yelled at the agent, "Give it to him." And they okayed it, And don't forget, service with a limo from New York to the mountains and back, with a suite and everything.
But what happened to the Concord after?
He went into Chapter 11.
So as my fellow friars would say.
Oh, and I went back to the Friars after the engagement. Oh, they let me have it, but good.
They said you closed the Concord?
We finally had a place where to perform, but you closed it. They were kibitzing me. I said, "What? I'm innocent." "No, you're not. You did your act there, and they closed the Concord." Things like that they did.
Okay.
It was really fun. It was a lot of fun.
So it's 1992 to 1996, 4 seasons on Picket Fences. Then Fantasy Island?
Fantasy Island was a revival of the series. This time I played the travel agent, whereby whoever went to my agency, we sent them to Fantasy Island for vacation. You see, it was a different concept. My secretary at that time was a very wonderful actress. I'm sure you may remember Sylvia Sidney. She played my secretary. But she quit later on, because her only companion, it was sad, her only companion was the dog, and you can't take a pet into Hawaii. They shot it in Hawaii.
Now, during this period of time, you're still performing. I mean, in other places.
Oh, certainly.
In addition,
certainly, my goodness, I did some guesting on TV shows. I did a movie here and there,
What about Hollywood Squares?
Hollywood Squares also came in. They wanted me on it. I did Hollywood Squares, and that was an enjoyable show to do. It was all ad lib,
Which is what you love.
All ad lib. And that time, Whoopi Goldberg ran it. Then later, she sold it to a different actor took it over. He bought it. He's a producer and actor now.
So let's talk about some of the movies, okay, that you've been in.
Well, after Q&A, I did Nixon. I was his campaign manager. People didn't realize when he ran against Kennedy that his campaign manager was Jewish. And that's the part that I played. I didn't audition for it, and I got it.
And after that?
After that came a picture I did. They didn't even release it. It wasn't that good.
But then talk to me about the Coen Brothers, because
Yeah, the Coen Brothers.
Coen Brothers is one of my favorite movies.
I did that
Which,
movie.
which I didn't understand one word you said because it was
I
all
did
in
all in
Yiddish.
Yiddish. That's the way
Right.
they wanted
So-
it.
so
the
the
Serious Man.
Right, The Serious Man.
And they're beautiful people, I tell you, the Coen Brothers. They're real lovely gentlemen and real talented directors.
From the Minneapolis, right? Or
They're from Minneapolis. Yeah,
Minneapolis.
but they're in New York now, I guess.
Right. So what happens?
I don't audition. Wouldn't audition. I said, you're not buying a house. I used to yell at them, take a chance, things like that. But when they sent for me to come down, they won an Academy Award for a film.
Right. The previous.
And a week later, they're already auditioning for the new film, The Serious Man. So I told my agent, for them, I'm going to audition because they're people that understand everything about the industry and things like that. And I went down there. They didn't know really my background, but they heard about me. And I told them, I'll read for you. They said, well, it's all in Yiddish. They said to me, do you know the language? I said, gentlemen, I wrote the language.
Okay.
And then we had a good time doing it.
But you had to move. You had to go to Minneapolis to.
We
film
went to
this.
Minneapolis to film it. It was wonderful. Oh,
So the role, which is one of the, you did a fine performance. What was the dibbick? Okay, what?
the lady thought that he was a dibuk.
Which,
He helped a man on the
which,
road.
Which, for my audience, what's the dibbick?
A dibuk is a soul inside of a person that comes out, that haunts him.
Right. So in the movie, you're the dibbick.
No, I'm not.
Oh wait.
She thought I was.
Oh.
But they put it down in the credits that I do the dibuk. I do the dibuk. He was partly dibuk. Partly, but not completely. And as a matter of fact, how did he get involved with the couple? He helped the old man on the road with his wagon. He fixed the wheel for him. And then he was so he invited him to come to his house to have some hot soup, to warm up, and she recognized him from before. He was sick, but she didn't realize that he recovered. No. She thought that he recovered because he's a dibuk.
Oh, okay.
And she kills him. It was a very impressive closing for an actor to do.
Some people at a different time, they say they're not going to they're going to retire. You and I are never going to retire.
I will not retire.
Okay?
I'm still working.
That's exactly right.
I just finished a Blue Blood.
Right. You were on Blue Blood.
I did Blue Blood, yes.
And you also decided about a year ago on Purim to perform at below 54
Yeah,
below.
I did a cabaret, a nightclub.
With your sons, right?
My sons. When I appear now, I only appear with them.
Okay.
If they're available.
So talk to me about that performance.
Oh my God, what a thrill that was. And on that night, they had a man that had a nightclub in Massachusetts, in the Berkshires. And he hired us for the following month to do it out there.
But you continue to perform. I mean, you're very active, in the Folksbiene Yiddish Theater.
Folksbiene, I did for them 4 years ago. I did a review there.
I know. We
it was
even
very successful.
We even have a piece of that review that we had on CUNY TV. We had the entire performance.
We're here tonight to celebrate the Yiddish theater of the last century and the Yiddish theater of today. We also mark the passing of the torch of responsibility for preserving our culture to the generation born after the Second World War. Would you please give a warm welcome to two musical stars in their own right, but also the sons of the great Fyvush Finkel. Welcome Elliot and Ethan Finkel.
Thank you, welcome. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a gentleman, one of the stars of Fox's TV series, Boston Public. In fact, he's leaving this week to begin his 4th season. In the last 10 years, he's won about every award one can win in television, culminating with the Emmy Award for Picket Fences. TV Guide just voted him one of 50 all-time legendary people of television. Our father, Mr. Fyvush Finkel.
Yantis. I can't tell you what nachas I have tonight for my two sons, Ian and Elliot. And I can't tell you what nachas I have from this glorious audience. Yiddish theater, never mind television. Television is only good when you go to the bank. But you see, Yiddish theater is my legacy. And I've been in Yiddish theater for 3/4 of my life. I remember when I was much younger, when I played the Clinton Theater on Rivington and Delancey. And we did 4 shows a night. And many things have happened during that interim. For example, I was once singing. A couple was sitting right in the front, a man and a woman. As I was singing, the man was chrapping, he was snoring. Now, what are you going to do in a case like that? I stopped the music. He was disturbing me. So I said to the lady, "Lady, is that your husband?" She said, "Yes." "Look, he's snoring, and that's disrupting my singing." She says, "So what do you want me to do?" I said, "Please, lady, wake him up." She yells to me, "You wake him up, you put him to sleep." Meine Glicken.
And I'll tell you something. That was a very good, the review was very successful there. We sold out like mad, my goodness. You couldn't get a seat. And they were very proud of that fact.
You're always sold out. And then even, when I saw you a couple weeks ago for the New York Board of Rabbis,
Yeah, well, they honored me. They gave me an honor that was very nice, really.
And recently you said to me, and this show, in addition to airing on CUNY TV, airs on JL TV. What happened recently with
They honored me in New York a day before the rabbis. I was honored from JL TV. The Dr. Herzl Award they gave me as Man of the Year. It was a great award, very nice.
So, and then the Shomrim Society, right?
The Shomrim Society gave me a big trophy. The Shomrim Society gave me a big trophy as Man of the Year. They did it in Temple Emmanuel.
So what are you going to do next?
Oh, next they're trying to get together. Of course, it's a little expensive, but it could be done. I should go in a theater and do my review with my sons.
So tell me what the review is.
The review is based on my life story. It's very funny.
So what's the funny parts in
The funny part is those sketches that I did in the Clinton Theater a long time ago.
I mean, 75 years ago?
I would safely say that.
So, like what sketches?
And I have it in English.
Okay.
They laugh more in English.
So tell me a little bit about the sketch.
I played Dracula in one scene.
Yeah.
As soon as I come out with the cape, they're laughing.
So they just look,
You don't have to do anything. They start laughing the way that thing is written. And I did it in Yiddish. They were laughing, and they laughed more in English.
And what other scenes?
Then I have a scene, actually, a golden wedding scene. I have a scene that is based on Cafe Crown, what we used to do there with the waiter, with the tipping, with the bill. A very funny scene. And I do a thing there where they had those songs I used to do in vaudeville, parodies. In other words, a parody, this is the Army. I did a parody. I'm going to dance with a girl with a hole in her stocking. That parody, I when the Saints come marching in, things like that. I sing it first in English, then I'll tell you this is how it sounded in Clinton Theater.
Okay.
And I do it in Yiddish.
You do it.
Very funny, very funny. And then I do the song, I'm Aborted by My Wife. I did that song many years ago, and when they did a documentary with Itzhak Perlman, the great violinist, they wanted to show a scene in EVD in the radio whereby I'm doing that song, I'm Aborted by My Wife, on WEVD that time. So I told him, I'm so honored. I'll do it the same way I did it 70-odd years ago, with the same dance, and I brought the same orchestration.
Hey, thank God. Tell me about your two sons, any grandchildren, and
Oh, well, my two sons, thank God, they're great musicians. They're in demand, thank God. Ian is on the xylophone. He's a virtuoso.
And
And
Ian-
Elliot is a classical pianist, also a virtuoso.
grandchildren.
And I have 3 grandchildren, plus 1 great-grandson.
What's the name of your grandchildren?
One is Dara, Jamie, and Abbott.
So, you know, for a guy who, you know, started, let's see, 1930, you know, a small career, okay? You know, a small career, you know, just 85 years, you know, young in the season, as they would say in the trade, at least to 120.
Well, I don't have far to go, you know.
No. You know what? But I'm really lucky to have the legendary Fyvush Finkel.
Oh,
And thank you for
God bless you. It was my honor.
My pleasure.
My honor, believe me.
Thank you.
I hope we do it again.
I hope so. We'll go on the road.
We'll go on the road, we'll do it again.
Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and so.
That's right.